Yo, everyone. How's it going? How you doing today? A good day. A good day. What a great day it is. This man right here has arrived. This man on your screen right here is finally here. He's finally on the team. We finally have Brian Mbeumo. How we doing, everyone? How are we today? We good? How is everybody doing today? We good. Whew. How are we? How are we doing? How are we doing today? I hope you are all doing well. We caked up. We are indeed. But no, I'm super happy. Obviously, the best news today. Mbeumo announced today, as expected, as planned. I said at the end of yesterday's stream it was for today. I started getting a little nervous around like 7 UK time. I was like, surely not much later, right? But yes, they got it out today. Happy with that. Happy with that. Huge moves, honestly. I mean, right now, yeah, this is good stuff that's happening at the moment. A good start to summer now, having start to summer now having Cunha and Mbeumo in, two of the best players in the Premier League last season. Just certainly when we're trying to solve the problem of scoring goals, you couldn't do much better than what we've done already, despite the fact that we have not got a striker in the door. So, got a few things to talk about. I want to talk about, first, before we get into it, I want to talk about the negotiation process and Brentford and Mbeumo, and I want to take about 635 victory laps, all right, on this. But mostly, I want to say it's a clear sign of why I always say, it's not right. It's not right when you start attacking, people on these things, going, all the panic, all the upset, all the negativity about what was going on with the negotiations, and all United are so incompetent, and these guys are so lazy, and so this and that. When the truth of the matter is, Brentford acted in bad faith on this deal. Like I've said since weeks now, that they were acting in bad faith on this deal for the most part. It was really funny because they said they didn't want to sell to us. We had this discussion, like, was this last week or early this week? I said, I started getting the feeling like they actually don't want to sell to United. They don't want to sell to United. They're dicking around. They're throwing crazy prices out there. And remember, we talked about this point about how when we made that second bid, we expected to be accepted, and then they went up. And then we had those conversations at the end of June, and we were ready to put another bid in, something like 60 plus 5 to get us, into, to get into the deal. Why is it not reading that out? Was it a case of Brentford being sour? Sorry, I don't know why it's not reading that out. But was it a case of Brentford being sour that the player wanted us and we eliminated competition for a bidding war? Maybe. I don't know what the exact reason for it was. But when we went into that second bid and we were close, and then we went for that third bid and we were lining it up and it was all ready to go and it was like 60 plus 5, we're here, we're ready. Then they said, nah, 70 million. And as you can see, they said, no, we want 70 million flat. And then it was like, we kept talking, they kept raising it. And then you see what's been reported now, 70 plus 7? They wanted 77 million. So the point was, as I said, it became not an issue necessarily even of price, right? It became not even necessarily an issue of price, but an issue of, were the goalposts going to just keep moving, keep changing, keep going to where we could never even nail down a price to get the deal over the line. And you even saw that there was a request to them saying, for Mbeumo or his agent or somebody to take less money, as a part of the deal to help us afford it. And we're saying that's not the issue at all. It's about the value that we want to pay for the player. It's not about the money we're giving to Brian. It's about what we want to pay for the player. And so that was really the hang up on this for the longest time. And it's why it was so important when Brian came back and pushed the deal through, and why it was so important his determination and his insistence on getting it over the line and getting to Manchester United. You can see from everything he said, from everything he's posted, from everything who he is, everything I've heard about him. Wonderful, wonderful human being, wonderful guy, and absolutely adores United and wanted to make sure this move got done. And he worked well, him, his agent, all of that worked well to make sure that everything got over the line in the end, and that he ended up where he should be, at Manchester United. So, this is it. This is great. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with the player himself. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's a wonderful personality, everything we've heard about him. But in addition to that, I think it goes to show, why it's too quick, too easy to pass judgment. You know what I mean? Too easy to look at things and say, oh, well, because it hasn't gotten done and because it's taking time, they're screwing it all up. No, the fact of the matter is that you have to look at it almost from a better standpoint. Let's look at it from a more positive angle, all right? Because that's just how I do things on this. We gave our word to Mbeumo that we wanted to get him here, Brian, to get him to United. We convinced him to choose us over everybody else when there were a lot of other clubs in. Arsenal came in for him early. Newcastle were strongly in for him. We got him to choose United and say, we're going to get you the move that you want. You know what I mean? That's what we're going to do. We're going to get you to Manchester. We made that promise to him. You know what I mean? So we did that. And we did that, and so despite all that was happening, with, say, despite all that was happening with, the bid with Brentford, with how they were acting, with how they were talking, with what they were saying, United kept pushing on it and kept pushing to get it done and worked out a strategy that was going to get it over the line, and that's what happened in the end. But, it took work. It took a lot of work, and they didn't want to walk away. They didn't want to walk away from him. They didn't want to walk away from him. That is the fact of the matter. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to go to somebody else. They wanted to get that over the line, they wanted to push it, and it takes that time. So sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes discussion. Sometimes it takes work. Sometimes it takes, serious push, and all of that. So, it's been a thing. It's been a process, but at the end of the day, we've got him over the line. That's the reality of it. We've got him over the line, and that's what matters. But just goes to show all the early judgment, all the negativity. Sometimes it's just too much. Like I've said before, guys, you can keep spamming it with certain names. There's people I listen to, and there's people I don't. Okay, and we'll leave it at that. All right. There's people I listen to and people I don't. So I'll talk about what I know and from people that I trust. All right, how about that? And we'll stick to what we know. Let's move on to the things that matter. Let's move on to what comes next after Brian Mbeumo, as tomorrow United jet off to the United States to come here to train, to come here to play a few games, to do all of that. Number one, it was interesting, the goalkeeper. I want to talk about the goalkeeper because someone we should listen to, Mr. David Ornstein, says we want a goalkeeper. And that I take as the best endorsement of everything I've continued to hear about us wanting a goalkeeper. That Mr. Ornstein, the indisputable, says that we want a goalkeeper. And we do. We want a goalkeeper. We want somebody who can come in and help on that. And as he said, we want three things: a striker, a goalkeeper, and potentially a number 6. Not in any order or things like that. But David Ornstein, I trust explicitly over anything that I hear. So I was kind of saying yesterday that I could certainly see a goalkeeper coming in first. Okay. I could certainly see a goalkeeper coming in first, simply because we have some money, because we have the ability to get a deal. There are a couple things that have been discussed here. Number one is Sen Lamens. Obviously, Lamens is one we've been linked to for a long time, one we're very interested in, one that we like. 17 million pounds, a young keeper. I think this is the ideal one for us to go to. Yeah, I see that from X saying that they're interested. That doesn't mean that he's not coming to us. It just means they're interested. It doesn't mean that there aren't other clubs interested. There should be other clubs interested. He didn't say they've signed for West Ham. Like, it could be a real target for them. So what? It doesn't matter. There's more than one club can be interested in a player. We haven't signed Lamens yet, but I think Lamens is a very, very solid target that we've made approaches on, that we've had discussions on, that we've talked about that. Obviously, it comes down to between West Ham and United for Lamens. I'm not particularly worried about that. All right. So that's a serious target, Lamens. Then there's all this noise on Emi Martinez, which I still would suggest is overplayed. United have not had any talks with Aston Villa for Emi Martinez at this point in time. Now, I did find that article interesting today in the suggestion that he could come in on loan. Now, I don't think that'll happen. I think Martinez is pretty unlikely. But at the same time, I think Martinez is pretty unlikely. But, the loan one was slightly intriguing to me because they don't want to have Onana and Emi in the same team. Very expensive, a lot of wages, doesn't really give you much for the future. And then you're going to buy Martinez, and then you're going to have like a whole bunch of older players. It seems quite unlikely that we'll make a move for that. Now, as we kind of saw as well, there is another factor here, which is that in terms of this decision, right? Do we go for an older keeper or a younger keeper? Well, I think that the decision has been made pretty clear, or at least there's some really strong indications toward the decision. We're sending Eli Harrison on loan. Vitek is not in the team. We need to sign a young keeper. We need to sign a young keeper at Manchester United. We don't have any young keepers. We don't have any up and coming keepers who could be the guys, at the club anymore. If Harrison's going on loan and Vitek is likely to leave as well, and he wasn't in the preseason game, we need a young keeper. United need a young keeper. So I think a young keeper is looking much more likely, at this point in time, to get over the line there. That's what I would see. So Lamens seems like the best option to me. He is a solid target. United are interested. United have explored the conditions of a deal. 17 million pounds. They could probably do that deal whenever. So this one is looking the most likely to me today. Now, I want to say on all of this, okay, on all of this, the goalkeeper, the striker, all of this at the moment, if you've noticed, by the way, in the last day or two, especially today, I think you've gotten about 635 conflicting reports from many of them very good journalists, many of them people with a lot of good information. Do you agree or disagree with that? Because that's what I have seen. I've seen tier ones for United, like Ducker, mention these two strikers, and different tier one journalists mention these two strikers, and different tier one journalists mention these two strikers, and different ones say we want this, and different ones say we want that, and different ones say we want this, and different ones say we want that. Okay? And each time that that happens, people run with it and go, oh my God, that we're going to get that guy, not that guy. Wait, but now we're going to get that guy, not that guy. And you're confused and wondering what the truth is, right? And the simple reason for that is this. I just want to explain because, ready? I'm going to use it again. My favorite corporate speak. You ready? You know what it is. You can type it out in the chat. I don't even have to use it. You know what it is because United at this point in the window are like that. Okay? That's what they are. When we had fully committed to going for Mbeumo and Cunha and getting those deals over the line, it was very, very easy. It was very, very easy to look at it and say, oh, those are the guys we're going for. Why? We made contact with the players, we made contact with the clubs, and we were engaged in negotiations for them. Today, I want to tell you the truth. Today, we are in contact with 0 clubs and we are in 0 negotiations with clubs over them. Not to say we haven't made contact, but we are not negotiating with anybody. So who's the target? Well, you can only guess, and you can only guess based on the information you have at that point in time. So let's say James Ducker, somebody at the Telegraph, he hears we've made contact with Jackson's representative, okay? Well, who's he going to put in his article? Jackson. Does that mean Jackson's our only target? No, of course not. Let's say this person hears we made contact with Šeško's representative. Does that mean Šeško's our only target? Absolutely not. Let's say somebody hears we've made contact with Watkins, or they've only heard Watkins and they haven't heard other people speak. They don't know about Jackson or Šeško. They've only heard about Watkins. Who are they going to write about? Watkins. Everybody has a view of a part of the process, not the entire thing. Nobody has a view of the entire thing at this point in time in terms of all the names, all the decisions, and all of that. And the simple fact is they haven't actually made that decision yet. And until they make that decision and actually move forward with it, we probably won't know who the actual target is. Okay? We won't know exactly who it is. We know, that's why when I talk about this goalkeeper thing, I say, look, we know we've been interested in Lamens. We've been scouting him. We've had contact with him. Recently, what was meaningful that was reported is that we made contact with his club to explore the conditions of a deal, to find out more about it. That is meaningful. That happened recently. So Lamens is a serious target for us. Emi Martinez, so far, we've had contact with his representatives, but as far as we know, it was kind of old. And again, it's because we have not got the necessarily clear targets in this position yet. It was the same with all the John Victor news that came out for a while. He was someone they looked at, someone they made some contact with representatives, but they had not actually made that move as of this time. You know what I mean? They hadn't actually done that. They hadn't done that as of yet, right? So, so we'll see what happens at this stage if we move forward with it. These are all players kind of on the list and where we're going. When we move forward, let's talk about striker, because I wonder if people are actually listening to what I just said here. On striker, we've made we've had discussions with different people. We've had discussions with different clubs. We've had discussions with we've had discussions with different we've checked in on many different strikers. We've checked in on Watkins. Good Lord, are things just anyway, I'm just gonna keep talking because people are throwing in all sorts of things. We've checked in on Jackson. We've checked in on Watkins, who was probably the earliest and most active one of these. We've checked in on, obviously, Benjamin Šeško has been on our list for years. We've checked in and have followed Moise Kean. We've checked in and followed, who was the other one? Mateta over the course of this summer. We've checked in and followed up on at this point, beyond Gyökeres, beyond the lap. We've checked in on, 5 different strikers potentially. Now, the decision simply hasn't been made who we are going to pursue. And again, part of the reason for that, really, really simply, is because it's so contingent on sales. It's so contingent on the money that we raise, how much that we have to afford, how much we have to pay, how much we have to do, and where we go from here moving forward. So these decisions just haven't been made. Now, but we have checked on all of these. So I don't know who we're going to sign at this stage, at this point in time. But I think that you just have to also bear in mind the realities of things, right? We rated Bryan Mbeumo at 60 to 65 million. Okay, that's what we paid. We rated Cunha at 62.5 million, right? That's what we've paid. If you take something like Šeško, United will not buy him at 80 million. I guarantee you that. United will not buy him at 80 million, right? Because they're not going to value him at that price for that kind of money to get him there. So it's going to depend where prices move, how much money United end up with moving forward. For Jackson, if the price is actually 80 million pounds and that's what they sit at, United won't be buying Nicholas Jackson for 80 million pounds. That's obvious. That's not going to happen either, okay? None of those things are happening. Sky reported today Jackson 80 million. They reported Šeško somewhere in like the 70 to 86 million pounds bracket, yada, yada. Those are quite expensive. If those are the prices, if those are the actual prices, and I'm not totally sure either one of them are. I think both of them are very likely to change in the coming weeks and all of that. But if you go after that to the other, not after that because they're not after, the other names, you look at like Ollie Watkins, for example, who was one that we've definitely been tracking for a while and definitely were interested and wanted. And made even an approach to Aston Villa about earlier in the window. Well, he was named by David Ornstein today as well, Ollie Watkins. He was one that was named by David Ornstein today as one of the names we're interested in. We continue to be interested in him. They may be interested in Garnacho. That's, again, part of all of the situation in this. So the thing I'm trying to tell you, to get you to think with here, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Stop swinging back and forth so mightily with every report, because the instant a few Šeško reports came out, then everybody flooded it. And this is why I don't rate certain things. Then there was a flood of people saying, oh my God, Šeško's the top target. We're signing him. Clearly he's the guy. Just like happened with Ekitike. When the Ekitike reports came out, I said, look, hold on, calm down. This isn't that serious at this point in time. They've just made contact. They haven't made an offer. They're not going to pay that kind of money for him. People are going, no, it's Ekitike. We're getting Ekitike. United fan, Ekitike. Ekitike's coming in. He's the guy. He's coming in. No, he wasn't. He never was. He never was. It was never that serious. It was a basic contact. I even noticed Fabrizio today made a second video talking about Šeško to like calm it down, push it back a little bit, and to say, whoa, hold on. It's not that serious as of yet. We've just made contact, okay? We've just made contact. That's the only thing we've done at this point in time. We've just checked on it. That's how it is with everybody. It is not clear at this point in time who we will be going for. Decisions will get made, mind you. Decisions will get made. But at this point, nothing's off the table in terms of these targets, but a lot is still in the air. So it's just not clear. The correct answer to all of this is that these are all names being considered, and none of them have actually happened as of yet. Okay? None of them have happened as of yet at this point in time. So, we're just going to have to be patient with it and like understand that. Also, Moise Kean is an option. You know what I mean? Moise Kean is genuinely an option. We've looked at and contacted his representative and such to understand the conditions of, same as we did with the other 4 or 5 strikers on these lists. So we've done it with a bunch of players, and then when that comes out, someone reports on it, someone hears about it, it goes up, and it comes up on the list. And if people like the link or not, then they run with it. It was the same thing that I did. last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago maybe now, when I said Nicholas Jackson on that Saturday. Because I heard we made contact with Nicholas Jackson and we were exploring the conditions of that deal. Did that mean we were going to sign Nicholas Jackson? No, it just meant that from my perspective, from my information, from my vantage point, we made contact, we were looking into it, and we were expecting that there could be a deal here. Again, doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I brought it up in the same way because of that. And then you had a whole bunch of reports following it, United looking at Nicholas Jackson, United doing this, United doing that.
Come on, guys,
so
smash
that's
the
what
like,
that's what happens.
Face emoji, flexed biceps emoji,
those are the things that is
is
essentially how this
cool
goes on.
Face emoji, smiley face emoji.
Maybe there's a trip to you for Iceland. Yeah, that's cool. So it's just this is just what happens when we don't have a clearest target, right? We had like if you want to look at our list of forwards, we wanted 3. If you look at our list of forwards, it seems like it was like Cunha, Dilap, Mbeumoo, Gyökeres, Semenyo, according to David Ornstein. You move down with that. You do all the, and then you end up, and so now I think it's a lot less clear exactly who we want in this position and who we can afford, right? How much money can we get? How much is Watkins going to cost? Do we have the money for that yet? How much is Jackson going to cost? Do we have the money for that? Anyway, all these sort of things that are in the air. So what I'm saying is just relax. Just relax on this. There's going to be a lot of reports. David Ornstein literally said today that he doesn't know which direction they're going to take on the striker. So just accept that, all right? Fabrizio said the same thing, and these are the 2 journalists I hold in the highest regard, okay? Is David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano for different reasons in terms of the things that they report. And both of them today said, right now, there is no, like, in or out on anybody in particular. They're just simple, basic ones. From my perspective, of all the names that we're looking at, Watkins is the best player. My order of preference would be Watkins at the top. And then you move down from that. So I'm going to poll this now that we've got a bunch of names. We've got a bunch of names. I don't think I've ever actually polled this. I'm going to do these 4 because I think these are the 4 like remaining names because Mateta seems to be potentially unavailable. But these are the 4 remaining names. Who was your first choice? Let's do that first past the post. For me, it's Ollie Watkins very clearly. Maybe people just genuinely share that opinion. I am personally not a fan of Šeško. I just don't like him. Like, I just wouldn't sign him at all personally. But that's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. Very much just my opinion. I could totally be wrong. But to me, yeah. So I think that's pretty clear. When you look at it in general, I think that we've all been burned by these expensive young strikers from other leagues. Going and spending 70, 80 million on another one is just crazy. When you have a better striker in Ollie Watkins, who's more proven today, that you could get. Like, that makes perfect sense to me. I see Watkins as a better Jackson, and Šeško as a massive risk. Massive risk. I think he's a decent player, but when I watch him, what I see personally is a guy who not very scrappy. He's not much of a dueler. He's got an absolute rocket for a shot and can score from practically anywhere, but does not accumulate a lot of good chances in the box for himself. Again, not scrappy and all of that. And right now, doesn't play the way we would want our striker to play. And I prefer to get guys who play the way we want them, who are already doing what you want them to do. Like, you look at Cunha, you look at Mbeumo. If they come in, well, they're here. They come in. Cunha does exactly what he was doing last season. He'll be successful. If Mbeumo comes in, and he's in, and he does exactly what he did last season at United, he will be successful. If you get Šeško in, he's going to have to change everything about his game. That, to me, doesn't work. Buying from the Bundesliga should be illegal. I would agree. I would avoid it like the absolute plague. Maybe only keepers or something. I don't know, man. Especially at those prices. If Šeško was 30 to 40 million, I would be interested in him as a prospect. I'd still want a different striker, but I'd be interested in him as a prospect. So yeah, that's how I feel on it. I think most people probably feel the same, to be fair. I think that Šeško's like, I don't know, kind of the next hype man. I thought he would fit Arsenal a lot better in the way that he drops in, does sort of the fake striker thing, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's an interesting occasion. It's an interesting occasion. So we don't know. It's just an unknown.
If we sell Sancho Anthony Garner, what DM do we sign?
We'll talk about that in a minute, but we genuinely don't know. Let's see what the price comes to, though. That's the biggest thing. Let's see how this all changes over the next weeks. Now, I'll also say, like, this is all kind of up in the air because it's a lot to do with sales. It's a lot to do with things like that. But there's also, this was the focus, was getting Mbeumo in.
Would you take a world-class 8 and keep Holland and revisit the ST position next season, if we can get any decent ST this season?
No. I'd rather have a striker than anything else in the market.
Scenario.
We need a striker. A midfielder's not going to make us, a midfielder helps. A striker, I'm strongly of the opinion, I always have been, that a striker changes the game a lot more than a midfielder for this team. We have plans for each scenario. The next plan for this scenario is based on who gets sold, how much money comes in, what we can do on striker. Like, the thing is, they can have a thought process, but it still can be dependent on what fees come in, what money comes in. Like, let's say we can only raise 40 million. Then it changes who we can get at striker if we can raise 70 million. What if Aston Villa offer us 40 million for Garnacho and we can buy Ollie Watkins? Well, if that was the case, then, you have to think with that scenario. That's a scenario. But those scenarios haven't happened yet. So they're working on it. They're working on different scenarios. They probably have an ideal one that they're going to push for. But yeah. No, I think a striker is more important than a midfielder. If I watch the game like the preseason, it reflects every game I've watched for us in a long time, over the whole second half of Amorim's season. Ball goes into Højlund, bounces off of him, ends up in a counter. Happened twice into the best chances created. No striker in the box. All last season, you look at that Spurs game, sure, the midfield wasn't perfect, had a mistake in it, in that setup, but even then, it was the lack of ability to have a striker do anything in the box over the course of 90 minutes that lost us the game. Arsenal, the draw, the same thing. City, the draw, the same thing. Like, so many games have been decided by the striker being non-existent and unable to finish. Wolves, even, what was it, Bournemouth at the end of the season, maybe? Maybe it was, I don't remember what it was. Almost all of it was about the striker, would have been the difference maker in those games, was having a number 9. There were games towards the end of the season where Garnacho was actually putting balls into the box successfully, and there was no striker home to actually finish them. So, yeah, to me, it's striker over literally anything. I think that the striker is the most important position on the team at this point. So, there's that. But yeah, look, plans are open. Plans are flexible. Plans are fluid at this point in time. And there's a lot that has to happen now. to make things happen, to fix things from here, um, and what comes next. So we don't know. Um, we just don't know at this point on the striker who we're going to go for. This week, I want to mention this week, for anybody here, by the way, I just got everything confirmed for this. I just got all my shit confirmed, my flights booked, my hotels booked, my passes, everything's all set. I will be in Chicago on this Thursday. So today's Monday. I will be on Chicago on Thursday. I'm going to be doing some videos. I'm going to be doing some videos on during the travel to show the stadium, to show all that kind of stuff as well. I'll do regular videos too. Obviously, there's going to be I'll be at a press conference, open training, things like that. So I should have some interesting conversations, some good things to share, some good more up to date information is what I'm saying will happen once United are on the tour, and I can have some more conversations with people that I want to speak with. Right, there'll be more up to date information soon. So maybe by then we'll have a clearer picture, come end of this week, later on, exactly what decision we're making there. But the next couple of days are likely going to be settling in, settling in the in there. But truthfully, I would not be surprised to see us get Watkins. All along, he's the one that's made the most sense to me. But yes, I'll be in Chicago on Thursday, Chicago on Friday. I will be flying into New Jersey for the game on Saturday. I'll be flying in Saturday morning. I will be there for the game in New Jersey at MetLife on Saturday. And then I will be flying back to Chicago on Sunday for the rest of the stuff that's in Chicago and the game in Chicago. So I'll be in New Jersey on Saturday. I'll be in Chicago the rest of the time, because that's how it's working. They're doing everything in Chicago this week. Then they're going to New Jersey for the game on Saturday, then coming back. So I'll be following along and doing all of that too. So yeah, so make sure to keep up though, because there's going to be some pretty cool stuff that's different than what we've been doing, than what I do before. In addition to, I'll sit down in the hotel room when I can and do some lives and things like that as well through all of this too. Let's move on to sales. We got the soul crushing, but probably not surprising news from David Ornstein today that Sancho is not close to joining Juventus, and that sucks. I think that sucks. It's not surprising almost, because for the last 2 weeks now we keep getting from Italy, there's a bid, they're on the verge. It is confusing, mind you. It is very confusing, because even this morning Duncan Castles said that he was close. Right now, he's close to leaving for 20 million euros plus add-ons, and all of that. And but it was like every single day there's a new bid. Every single day there's a bid. Every single day is 24 hours. All of that, apparently, all false. Which it's too bad. So apparently, Sancho not close to leaving to Juventus. The last I heard when I did that video 2 weeks, it was like maybe 12 days ago, something like that, that Juventus had explored the conditions of the deal, that they had made contact, that they had contacted to United and Sancho at that time and understood the conditions of the deal, but they hadn't decided whether to do it or not, and there was nothing else. Since that time, I haven't heard anything myself, but we've been following these every single day stories on Jadon Sancho and Juventus, and apparently they're all false. So that sucks. That's crazy. Like, it's so wild that it's like just completely not true. That there's been all these bids, all these talks all week, not true. I got excited, man. We were seeing all these bids, all these conversations, all this talk, and we were seeing the black and white Instagram post, and we're like, is this happening? Is this almost happening? Is anything almost happening? And then nothing. That's it. So that's a bummer. That's like a serious bummer. And I think that tells you why we're not like moving on a striker as of yet. Because you know, because like we don't have the money. Um, we just don't have the money. We don't have the sales. We're saving 17 million, 15 to 17 million on Rashford. We don't have the money for this. We need something else happening. I did see that, which is real. Again, Rasmus likely to leave. He's for sale. He's been for sale, but to who? To who? To who? Chris Kamara? To who? We don't know. To who? Is it AC Milan? But I will say this. Okay, I will say this. We would be willing, just as we let Rashford go on loan, we would be willing to let Rasmus Højlund go on loan if that was what it took. Because we're going to think about it realistically. We've got Cunha. We've got Mbeumo. We're getting a striker. We are going for a striker this summer. We have Joshua Zirkzee. We have Ahmad. We have Mason Mount. We have Kobbie Mainoo. We don't need Rasmus Højlund. We have Cheeto, who will get minutes and who will play this season. It's not the best time to sell Rasmus. So a loan with an option might work. That might be something that could work, where maybe he kicks on and then we are able to, he kicks on and we're able to do a deal. We also have Bruno who can play up front too. Don't forget that. Like, we have Bruno as another potential forwards. What's up, Sully, my friend? Good to see you, buddy. Great work on the announcement and all of that today. Our good friend Sully there. Long road, that Mbeumo thing. Good work, everybody. But good to see you, Sully. Good work there. Say hello, everybody. Sully's great. Sully's fantastic. Good to see you there. But yeah, there's a lot up in the air at the moment. And by the way, as Sully shared today, Bryan Mbeumo did his first training session as well, working on some extra work with Zirkzee, right? Zirkzee hopefully means will be fit for the tour and playing as well, because hopefully we'll get to see some Zirkzee, Cunha, and Mbeumo. Yeah, I think everybody was hoping it could be at 1900s, but they fooled us by an hour. They fooled us by an hour. But hopefully Zirkzee training with Mbeumo and all of that, that's a good relationship that'll form. Zirkzee, Mbeumo, Cunha. We need to see that on the tour. I need to see that front three. That front three gives me a lot of hope. You met Onana as well. Yes. Well, met him again. Right? So yeah, I mean, anyway. Yeah, anyway, let's yeah, where were we? But yeah, good to see you, buddy, and we'll keep in touch for sure. But yeah, with all the forwards that we potentially have, I think that, obviously he's saying Højlund could leave. Well, a loan is probably possible. Sully, what do you think? I think we're thinking like what? Watkins, maybe Šeško if the price comes way down, something like that. That's what we're thinking on the price, I believe. I think Sully would probably agree with me, but I think it's definitely up in the air on that. But yeah, in terms of the sales, in terms of Højlund, I think there's a chance he could go on loan if there's an option out there, and it might be end up being the best thing for him. Rebuild his career, get back on his feet away from United, and see if he can improve. Maybe then somebody buys him. Maybe then he has value. Maybe then he returns to United. You never know. So that's probably a possibility. And if Ornstein is saying he could leave, then he could leave. And I do believe that there's a good chance that will happen. Yeah, I think in the next few weeks we'll start seeing some concrete links regarding a strike. Yeah, exactly. A lot of serious options. And but nothing like nothing's happened yet, right? We haven't actually like made a move for somebody to sign someone yet, so we don't know. So we really just don't know yet. So yeah, let's see. Then the other one is obviously Anthony and Garnacho. Frankly, I don't know where this is going to land. Now you've seen that obviously the reporting on Garnacho, the price probably being lower. I think that's always been kind of the intention anyway. That United will let go of him for cheaper than that 70 million, 40 to 50 million for sure. I think will happen in that range. Chelsea are definitely still eyeing that. Aston Villa are eyeing that. There's a few clubs eyeing that. But man, we need an offer to come in there. And again, I think that could be really integral to the whole striker situation as well. Anthony, obviously, he's still pushing for Batiste. We haven't really heard any follow up on that Atletico situation, whether there's anything really in that or not. So, we're just gonna have to be patient here. But this is holding us up. This is holding us up. And obviously then you've got Chelsea looking at Xavi Simons today, so that maybe that they could get that done. So yeah, that might lower. I'll tell you what I think. Okay, I think it would be a good thing if Chelsea comes fully off the table for Garnacho. I think it would be a good thing because I feel like he's going to turn down other moves until Chelsea, as long as Chelsea are still there, that he will turn down other moves. That's what I personally think, because Chelsea is definitely where he would like to go. And as long as that's still available, I think he's going to turn down bids. It's similar to like Anthony. Let's say Batiste told him, hey, we're not signing you. Well, then he'd be open to Como. Then he'd be open to these other options if he knew he couldn't get to Batiste. Okay? So I'm kind of hoping that they end that or make an offer for Garnacho very, very soon, because we need him to be open to different moves and such in order to kind of necessitate that. So that might push the door open to Villa, which maybe helps push the door open to a Watkins situation or something like that. So we'll see, man. We will see on these, but the sales are definitely a cause for concern, especially with, as Ornstein killed off the Sancho thing being close at this point. If it's not close, I don't know where the hell Jadon Sancho is going to end up, to be honest. So that's where we are. We're waiting. We've gotten two very good players in the door, though. Cheeto had 5 shots. I know. I genuinely believe Cheeto should be ahead of Rasmus Højlund in the. Cheeto should be ahead of Rasmus Højlund in the rotation already. Just based on how he's playing presently, it's hard to argue that. I think he's better than him today. And Mbeumoo wages definitely within the structure. It was always bullshit, this thing about these massive wages being paid to him. He wasn't joining for the money. Of course, he got a pay rise coming to United. It's a bigger club. It's a step up. All of that. But it was, some of these astronomical numbers that were put out there was always crazy. That's one of the first things that I reported on this when that came out, was that was not true. His wages were well in line with Cunha and are in that 150 to 170 bracket, probably. I mean, there's always bonuses and things like that, but it's normal. It's very, very normal. And again, yeah, with incentive based on performance. So maybe it could reach 200,000 a week. Maybe it could reach 200,000 a week if he scores 20 goals, in which case we're not even talking about his wages. Those are fair. Those are the types of things that happen on all of this. But yeah, I think you'll see in the athletic piece and all of that, the stuff that we've been talking about, like all of the stuff that we started the video with, and talking about the price, the changing, the cost of saying it's that we asked for this much and we'd asked for this, and fake bids and all sorts of stuff. And Brentford pushing for Mbeumo to go to other clubs, and just all sorts of crap. What a mess. What a mess that was. But it's okay. Got it over the line at the end of the day. On the midfield, yesterday's video, I said that we do not. I don't know who will sign in the midfield. It was yesterday, I think it was, right? We were talking about the midfield, and I said, saying we'll sign a midfielder didn't say we wouldn't. I'm saying as of now, we have literally no idea who it was. And Ornstein today said the same thing. No names. There's nobody. We don't have any idea who it is. There's no information beyond the fact that we want a midfielder, which we all know. There is zero information to say what midfielder we're going to go for at this point in time. Whereas, and that's why it's behind these other things. You look at the strikers and you say, yes, I did say it wasn't likely because we don't have any links. So at this point, it's not likely. We want one, not likely. But that likely means we haven't talked to any. You know what I mean? We have no idea. Now, if they find someone out of the blue, absolutely brilliant. I love it. I'm super happy. Hopefully we can get something done like that. But when you compare it to like the striker and keeper, we've made contact with 5 or 6 strikers. We've made contact with 3 or 4 keepers. We've been working on those deals. In the midfield, we probably don't have anything even remotely close in that respect. And in big part, it's because, we can't, the midfielders we probably really we can't really spend the money on this year. If we were like the Rios thing, you're right. Like the midfielders we really like, let's say, Wharton, right? And let's say, who was the other one? Ederson, right? Those are solid links that we're definitely not signing this summer, right? We can't. The money's too much. They may not even be available. All sorts of stuff like that, So there's lots of Anyway, point being, it's a lot. Second, sorry. So anyway, sorry. That's fine. So there might be, other people. What am I drinking? It's water. Water with lemon. Yeah, there might be other names that come to the table. There might be others that we've scouted. Again, going back to our older lists that we talk about. Hayden Hackney, example. Yeomand. There's been some minor links to Yeomand, right? However, what I will say about this, I really like Yeomand. I would have signed Yeomand last year. I really liked him. I wanted him. I've loved watching him play under Ruben Amorim, but I will say this. He is not the guy who's going to fix the pace in your midfield, and he's going to cost 60 million euros as well. He is much slower than Manuel Ugarte. He's closer to Casemiro's speed than he is Ugarte's speed in open spaces. He's not going to fix the pace issue, a speed issue. Ugarte is the fastest number 6 in the team. Yeomand is not going to be faster than him. I promise you that. He is not a quick player. So you need some other options if we're talking about athletic, pacey, as a number 6. In that mold is somebody who's much more athletic than Yeomand, even though I really rate him as a footballer. He's quite good. He's quite good, but he is not fast. So that doesn't solve that kind of problem to me. In fact, I would suggest that Yeomand is a lot more like Casemiro. He's better on the ball, good distributor, very intelligent, and all of that. But not quick at this stage. So, it's closer to something like that. We don't have any links to Mbeumoo, my friends. Like, I'm cool with suggestions and shit. We're all good. Everybody loves suggesting midfielders. They have all year, but I'm just saying I don't know of any yet. We don't really have any at this point in time to suggest anything. You know what I mean? there's any serious options at this point. João Gomez, I would have really liked, but he just signed a new deal at Wolves. I don't think we'll go in for him. Paulinho would be nice, but there's been nothing serious there as well. So Ugo Chukwu, I would really, really like, because to me, he fits it really well as an athletic six that we have watched in there, and I don't see why. I'm sitting here still wondering, why don't we go for him? Like, why haven't we? That's one of those ones where I just have a personal opinion. Why haven't we gone for Ugo Chukwu, I think is how you pronounce it. Why haven't we gone for him? He's tall, he's fast, he's good. He's Premier League proven. Because it's Chelsea, but maybe this Garnacho thing. Maybe instead of Jackson, we use the Garnacho leverage to get Ugo Chukwu and send Garnacho that way, and then we can save our money for a striker on everything else. I'm just saying, I would be okay with that. I would be cool with that. We did scout him, so I don't know. Ndidi is definitely not fixing the pace issue. He's just he's literally a worse Ugarte at this stage in his career. You know, he's injuries, slow. Yeah. Yeah, Wilcox should know him. I mean, yeah, maybe they just don't rate him. I mean, that's fair enough. You know, I always respect the views of these guys because I think they're good at their job, but I guess we'll see. That's like the thing with Šeško. If they decided to go for Šeško, would I back it? Of course. Of course. Because I would bet they know better than me. But I would still raise the risks that I've mentioned. The price, the failures of these players in the past, and things like that. I would still be concerned about taking those big risks as well at the same time. Do you think Ugarte gets sold next summer? I don't think that has even remotely been decided or discussed. Everybody gets a couple seasons. Let's see how he does this year. He wasn't, again, after everything that happened last season, you'll note it's July 21. There's absolutely zero discussion over selling Ugarte. I don't think he was viewed as this failure that a lot of people did in the slightest at all. But no, I suggest that, again, the midfielders we would really want, we don't have the money for, and that it'll be a next summer proposition. When Casemiro leaves, that we have a lot more money and we go for somebody like that. We go for someone significant that solves the midfield for the long term. There's also the matter of Kone, who was going to go on loan to Lausanne, and now he's not. Or Lausanne, and now he's not. So why do that if he's not going to play? And we have enough players we have enough bodies. It's not like we needed him, he's not going to, if we signed, and that's part of the thing that makes me question, how urgent is it being viewed? Ugarte, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno, and Kone. Well, how is he going to play if we sign another player on top of that? I think Kone is exceptional. I think he looks really good. I think he looks really, really good. And I think he could be the guy in the long term in that position. But, he should start getting some minutes. He's probably going to be in the under-21s as well, but he should start getting minutes in the first team. So, yeah, we just don't know. That's the truth of it. We don't know here because we haven't actually made approaches to players as of yet. We've made approaches at striker. We've made approaches on the keeper front, but we have not made approaches on a mid. What do you guys think of this thing that we did attempt a loan for Emmy? Do you think it's true? Because, like I said, I think a loan, it would be definitely palatable to United for Emmy Martinez. I don't think signing Emmy on top of Onana would be palatable, but do you think it's possible? I know it's from Dominic King is actually tends to be a pretty good. Actually, I haven't heard from him in a while, but he's actually a fairly decent journalist. He's had a lot of decent stories, and he said it was rejected right away, which obviously I don't see why Villa would accept it. But I'm just wondering, I don't know. I think it has merit because we're trying to solve all these problems that we need. But I don't think we want to buy Emmy. So then the question becomes, all right, so if we didn't want to buy Emmy, then then the next alternative is move to someone we can buy, which you would suspect would be maybe Lamens. So yeah, I don't know. It's intriguing. Well, they
After
don't. That's why
seeing
they
what
turned it
Brentford
down.
tried to do with the Mbeumo deal, I now understanding why James didn't join the hate the club bandwagon like most did.
Exactly. Exactly. Appreciate that. But that's why I don't overreact to these things. It's always so much more complicated. People are sitting there saying, "Oh, Wilcox this, Wilcox," like it's just silly. It's not how life works. It's just that these things are so much more complex than that. It's like I said. This is my view. Unless the people at the club, unless you genuinely believe the people at the club don't want to make deals and are sitting on their asses and not working and have no interest in signing a player and they're just sitting there trying to save money for the sake of saving money, which to be fair, some people believe, but if you do, you're wrong, then there's other reasons why these things get held up. And then it's just a matter of exploring and to understand those reasons instead of getting upset about them. And they're probably valid. And they were. But we got it done in the end too, which I think speaks to the situation. Um, but yeah, look, I'm very curious about that situation. But I think what it does speak to, if it is true, is that we are trying to do multiple things at once that we can. We probably have the money to make some kind of deal on the keeper front while we're getting sales for the striker to see what we can afford there. So that is very, very encouraging to me. Yeah, I don't think they want to buy Martinez while Onana's still here. 40 million pounds potentially, big wages. I just don't think that they want to do that. I really don't think that that's on the cards this summer for us. I just don't think that that's even remotely possible. A permanent deal for Lamens would be cheaper in general. I mean, a permanent deal for Lamens would probably be like 1 year, like twice the. But again, you're talking then you have a young keeper, and I can understand why they might be a little bit concerned about getting a young keeper in to this team. There's a high pressure, all of that, but I think that's the risk aspect to it. If you can kick the can down the road, get an Emi Martinez in, that's why I think maybe there's merit to it. I still think we should just get Lamens in because I don't see better options at keeper. If I saw better options, I'd be for it, but I don't see better options. But if we have had discussions with Aston Villa, then we need to be asking for Ollie Watkins here soon and keeping that dialogue open. Mm-hmm. Lamens, I think the positives about him: 6'4", he's big. It's just he's big, and he seems to do really well commanding crosses in his box. So I quite like him. Belgian Sergio Romero. I mean, that works for me. That works for me. But yeah, the minute we said, "Hey, we're gonna loan out Eli Harrison," you know what I wonder? What if? What if? This is just me speculating now. All right. What if we made that loan offer for Emi Martinez? It got declined, so we said, "All right, fine. Then we got to go for a young keeper." But that's going to block the path for Eli. That's going to block the path there. Let's get Eli out on loan and approve that, and then let's get Lamens in because that kind of all happened in the last day ago. So maybe this would be good. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I'm only speculating there. I need to get some more up to date info, but I really want to find out if the decision's been made or not.
So Sesko it is?
No, it's the is we don't know because it's not a we don't have a target yet. That's the reality. Like we just don't have a solid target yet because there's too many conditionals still on the table as of today to say who our striker target is. There's just too many conditionals, and that's not about information. It's about literally the reality of the situation. Um, that maybe we don't have the that maybe we don't have the targets yet to see. That maybe like there's just too many things up in the air. That's what I'm saying. Excuse me. So, yeah, we'll just I don't know. What's the average age? I mean, goalkeepers have interesting career paths, so I wouldn't overthink it. But yeah. Um, how is United trying to get rid of a young striker just to bring in another young striker like Šeško? Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Is that like I really don't believe at present that they're wanting to take another risk, like a Hoyland-esque risk on a striker, which is why I'd always heard the Ekitike stuff was very unlikely because of the costs involved. I mean, you know, the costs involved for a young, semi-unproven striker in Ekitike. For me, from everything I've heard, it's the same for Šeško. Unless the price would come down significantly, um, unless the price would come down significantly, then it's not a they don't want to take those kinds of risks. They don't want to take huge risks. So the price would have to come down a lot. I mean, they're just not going to pay 80 million for him. They're not going to pay more than what they paid for Mbeumo and Cunha. Um, but yeah, we would need a lot cheaper on the price. Like, yeah, I see that him saying we tried for Ekitike last week. He's already committed to Liverpool, but also we are never going to pay 90 million euros or anything like that. We need the price to come down. That's why it's always been unlikely. There's the money aspect of it, and there's the player aspect of it. We like Šeško, we like Ekitike, but the risk involved with the significant amount of prices is really, really, really high. Yeah, I would want to watch that Ornstein 2 thing, see if he was just referencing reports because he's talking on the back pages. You know what I mean? Um, what he's actually talking about there. But the price is going to have to come down on these things. No matter what, on these deals to work for them to be likely. Um, if it's 50 million base fee and the rest in add-ons, then it might be more possible. That's why it's just like I'll sit in the same boat with you on this and speculate and say that they haven't want to pay huge fees. If you look at the fees they've paid for proven players, I don't see them paying more for unproven players. You know what I'm saying? Because I doubt that they view Šeško as a better talent than Mbeumo or Cunha. You know what I mean? So you have to think with that. It's complicated though. It's like, man, it's just complicated. Um, it's just complicated. It's just complicated how this is all going to play out from here. made a push for him. I would guess that the perspective there is kind of like what we did here with like Mbeumo, right? Could we get Ekitike to commit to United and then drive the fee way down? But that would probably, that was also, if you think about it, that was also while Mbeumo was stalled. So we might have been saying we might have to, remember I was saying we might have to pivot and walk away from Mbeumo. So maybe if it wasn't going to move forward in the few days. So I would imagine what he's talking about there. Yeah, I'm not sure how much is in it, but I imagine what he's talking about there is like we were stalled at this. Like if you read the piece that's out on Mbeumo, it's been stalled. It's been stalled until Mbeumo came back. So early last week, probably before we put that next bid in, that final bid in that got it done. Essentially, I would imagine maybe we called up Ekitike, try to see if we could get him to choose us or something like that. You know what I mean? But he'd already committed to Liverpool. Hence why he said he's already committed to Liverpool. Because if we could get a player to commit to us, then maybe we can get the price way down. If we go for Šeško, the strategy will probably be the same. Get him to commit to us and say, I only want United. I'm choosing United over anybody. And that drives the price way down. We probably try to do that with anybody we're chasing to keep, to get the fee. That seems to be how he did it, But yeah, that I would imagine that. But again, the situation is different now. If we missed out on Mbeumo, then maybe we would have been willing to pay a little bit more for somebody because then we have no clear target here, right? But since we've got Mbeumo, that obviously we've committed another £65 million. The likelihood that we can go buy another very expensive player is significantly lower now. So either way, it's interesting. I think this kind of shows that this Mbeumo thing was in danger last week, man. If that was the case, then it really just goes to show. Yeah. Interesting. It's messy. It is messy, no doubt about that. What's going to happen on this at the end of the day. But all right, guys, I'm going to end it here. Hopefully, we get some clarity soon because it's confusing. Let's put it that way. I do think that like when the Mbeumo thing was in danger, United were at risk of doing something silly. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that happens. No matter how good you are, no matter how prepared you are, after all that time on Mbeumo, if it have failed, everybody, I do think there was a risk that they went and like overpaid for somebody else because they were worried about the not having any signing in the door there, and they had the money ready and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe. You never know. That pivot to Ekitike would have been crazy though. Like that would have been for much more money. That would have been wild. I'm happy that they instead said, nah, we're gonna get Mbeumo done. I have my concerns over Ekitike. I say this though, I have more concerns over Šeško than I do Ekitike. I have more concerns over Šeško than I do Ekitike. I think that Ekitike is a good player. I don't think he necessarily fits us. It was more, again, the cost. So expensive. Šeško, I'm just not a fan at all. I'm just not a fan at all. It's just my opinion, but I'm just not a fan at all. So I hope we go for Ollie Watkins, frankly, but we will see. My next ideal 3 transfers would be probably Watkins, Lamens, and if they were realistic, Watkins, Lamens, and then I would pass up on a midfielder. I would just get Wharton next season because we can't get him this season. And I'd go Wharton and Cobby for the long term. I think that's the best midfield pairing we could make with the options around. So I think that'd be a great pairing in the midfield. The passing range with Wharton and things like that. So that's what I would pick. If it was realistic and I had to pick, then yeah, I still don't know, to be quite honest. Yeah. Don't know. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I'll be back tomorrow with some more as we get ready for travel and all of that. Appreciate you guys hanging out today. Big deal with Mbeumo in. United flying out tomorrow. Let's see if we can find get any further clarity on all these things